Hello and welcome to the Inspiring Revolution podcast, where in this season we are exploring ambition, the messy, not so pretty kind of ambition and chasing after it. And today's guest, I believe, embodies that completely. I'm seated here with Kelvin, and I'll let him introduce himself, tell us what he does, and then we'll get straight into the juice, the meat of this podcast.
So thank you very much, Irene.
Mhm.
Actually, appreciate to be here. So, Kelvin, the CEO of Artmix, marketing company. We are in terms of advertising in the marketing world.
Okay. Aside from your business, you also run a foundation. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
I run a foundation called Black Eagles Group of Teams that is more involved in sports, where we teach young kids, adults, teenagers, boys and girls discipline and now basically open it's a platform where you open opportunities for them.
Amazing.
Well,
All right. So we were able to meet during the Youth Plus Festival where we were listening to one of our most inspiring mentors, Boosie.
sure.
And you had a question for him. You asked him, what do you do when your business is growing at a faster rate than even you can keep up with it? And I think for me, that's one of the places where I was like, I have to have this person on the show. How ambitious can you be to actually be in a position where things are now growing outside of your scope and you're now trying to chase after your own ambitions? So, before we talk about that and your business and who you are and what it has taken to build that, I want us to go back. Where did this all begin?
So I told began at a small center
Mhm.
in my city. Yeah. Now back then I'm done with Form 4 and figuring out life. You know what I actually want to do in life.
Mhm.
And I joined this center. There are the data centers that are set up by the government where you learn basic ICT skills. And I could just feel my heart in the space. So I learned virtual assistant, where I used to learn a few skills in terms of meetings, how to handle people, guests, soft skills. And after that, I was lucky enough. I got a job at a company called Local Investment Group, located at Europe. And they paid me crazy money that I've never seen in my life. But after all, without now the financial education and how I'm supposed to move all the way to Ashes. And being paid $4,000 a month and then losing it all wasn't you.
Yeah.
But now we're back in business.
Oh, okay, let's talk about that. So you have just finished high school, you're ambitious, you get into this program, you learn how to do this, and you get a job that is paying you really well. You've mentioned how so it's like you've gotten there. This was where your ambitions were ideally leading you.
Sure.
Umefika, this was your breakthrough point.
Exactly.
And then suddenly it went away. How do you deal with that kind of disappointment, that kind all those feelings that come with when you lose what you thought was yours? How did you deal with that?
Actually, I'd like to answer this with a question. Everyone must ask himself, how much pain are you willing to take? Because if you're trying to get into business or anything that will mean success in your life, there's an amount of pain you must take. So even after I had lost everything, basically because you're young, no one is guiding you to do this, so doing a little bit of partying there. I'm just wasting money around. Uh, but under that, there's one great thing that I have. I started small businesses that all failed, almost 5 businesses. Started a pool table business, they failed. Started a lot of businesses that everyone advises you to start.
Yeah.
A supply construction company, start things,
Hardware.
hardware, and they all failed. But that was one thing that I felt did because I had to learn the processes. So I had to learn that things do not work the way you think they work on the business side. So I did a lot of learning. There's HR. Oh, what do we need HR? Oh, okay, so you need a financial manager. Why? Then there's KRA. Oh, what does KRA do?
What do they want from me?
Yeah. So with that, I learned a lot, and it has really helped me on what I'm building because I'm still building.
I love what you defined there.
Yeah.
You have kind of redefine failure and what it means. It's not just something you are afraid. You're literally celebrating your failures because you said that there's something amazing that I learned or that I did, and I was waiting for you to say something else, something success. Like I started 5 businesses and they failed. I love that approach. That failure is not something to pull you down. It's a place where you learn. And I like to say that failure is the building block of success. The failures that you have now built towards your success. So thank you so much for sharing that with our audience. Now, what's next? You've lost the job or the money, and now how did you decide? I'm going to now pick up again. What did you decide to pick up on?
So after some time, you lost. Now the worst part came in where I don't have the money, and the contract has come to an end.
Oh my.
So you have nothing to do. You thought you're doing well, you had altered your lifestyle at some moment, but you had changed everything, changed places. You are rented, you don't have the money to pay the rent, and now it becomes crazy. But after that, I still went back to the Nigeria where I came from. There's a good guy called Harun, who was the center manager there. Shout out to him. And Harun guided me, told me, besides now what you've done as your assistant, you can also have learn another few skills here and there as you try to go into the space. But one thing that the cash that I was earning before had done to me, it had helped me build a lot of connections. So I had traveled to Nyeri, Nakuru, talk to people. So it helped me build a lot of connections here and there. So by the time I'm learning, because I went back, learned website development, that is what we did, Java, HTML, the other coding skills. And with that, now I could pitch some small businesses and tell them, you need a website. Then I could build a website for them. Then after all, hired again by another company, an NGO this time. Now this is where I felt the best thing. Actually working for them felt like home because I was hired by an NGO called Energetic Families, and they do help the homeless people. So I could just feel good helping the people instead of actually making the money. They used to pay me to maintain the website, and the lady there called me, she actually also communicates right now that the contract has come to an end. Introduced me now, they forced me to learn because now they're giving me more tasks than website development. They're telling me now you're supposed to be handling our Facebook profiles, you're supposed to be handling our TikTok. Can you do TikTok? Then, but I learned something. Never say no to anything. So every time they bring in something, I go back to the drawing board. I go to YouTube. I learn. So for all this process, I was doing what I learned, and I believe that is what helped me pick up everything again. But now I decided to keep everything cool. I'm getting a financial manager.
You learned your lesson.
I'm learning now. I'm eager to learn. I believe that is what I've built to whatever I'm building because I'm not yet there.
Yeah.
Not yet halfway. I'm just caught up with what I'm doing.
Okay. I like what you shared because you're talking about a growth mindset there. Having to understand that you don't need to say no to something because I don't know how to do that. I can't do that. You instead can go learn, grow, get better at it, and have it as part of your skills.
Sure.
And that growth mindset is what actually kept elevating you even in the space you are working or in or at. Now, my other question for you, still within your same story, you're saying that this time you learned. What would you share with someone who maybe is listening to this podcast and are like you? They have gotten a really good paying gig or something like that. So part of their ambitions and their dreams, they feel like they're now living in their dreams. The finances, the money is good. And the lesson that you learned and now you practiced, what is any practical tips you can give to someone so as not to end up where you are in the first time when you got your high-paying clients in the UK?
Number one, and it's nice that you raised this question because it's a trigger. Because sometimes it causes trauma.
Yeah.
But number one, know your numbers. Look at your bank account now and then. Number two, write your expenses. Write how much your income is and how much your outcome is. Then number three, understand the scope of work and understand that freelancing, you're never employed by being a freelancer. Never. No matter how long the contract is, the client can end the contract overnight.
Yeah.
So if you don't now put your financials right, understand now, when you're a freelance, actually, you're supposed to run yourself as a business. You are the business. You're the financial manager, you're the HR, you're the operations manager, you're the admin, you're doing everything. And you should take caution on that. Because you may receive one contract right now, that the next contract you're going to receive maybe in December, January next year.
Yeah.
So you need to have all that plan. This is the money that is coming in. How much can this sustain me? For how long? If this contract ends today, how much can I pay rent? How much can I eat? And someone actually said, if your 3 months salary cannot pay your annual rent, you're actually in the wrong apartment. Get rent.
But louder for the people at the back, because yes, it's very important. I think what you're sharing is true, because you're talking about it even being like a trauma. And I think people don't have financial conversations, especially someone when you're chasing after your ambitions and it looks like a not a constant job, not constant income. It's probably a business, or it's you building your own brand or something like that. That becomes very trickier situation. How do you handle inconsistent income? So it becomes a question that no one is answering. So thank you so much for sharing those tips, and I hope it does help someone there. We talked the last time when we were at youth class, we talked about also the pressure of maintaining an image. What can you say about that? Because as much as there's getting to know your numbers, sometimes you know the numbers, but now you're still trying to maintain a certain image to people. You're trying to show that no, my business is successful or my brand is working, so you want to show this and this. How can you advise someone who that is their stronghold, that is what needs to be pulled down?
Actually, thank you very much for the question. And what I think of this is don't try to entertain anyone. Don't try to impress anyone. Actually, that is what I feel. Don't be in a position where you're trying to impress everyone that is around you. In fact, your goal should be disappointing everyone,
You mean?
including your parents. Sorry to say, because back then when I had to walk for almost 5 kilometers, there was no one could believe what I'm doing. But I was just like, IT these days is useless. Who's hiring any IT? Because they just had that long mindset of it. But now you have to set them up for each and every one. So don't be there to entertain them. Don't be there to impress them. Do what is right. And how do you know what is right? If everyone else is talking about it being wrong, then it's right.
Are you sure? Are there not sometimes where people are actually leading you, trying to lead you the right direction? No, I work.
Most of the time, if you have a group, if you're being what you call being orange shoe in a room where there are big shoes, then you're being right. Come out, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. Own the mistakes. Let them be you. Let them defend you. You be you. And that is the only way you're going to transfer not only the freelancing space, but that is the only way that you can transfer life.
Yeah.
I believe you've been raised in a scope where you're supposed to pretend. You're supposed to pretend that you humility, pretend to be humble. Be humble where humbleness is needed. Sometimes you just need to be up and shoulders high.
Yeah, you're really big on this, because I remember last time we talked, you also said you're done explaining yourself to people as to why you need to do this, the amount of energy it even takes to do that. What made you come into such a lesson that I'm really done explaining myself to people? I'm just building what I'm building, I'm consistent, and I'm seated working on my ambitions.
Actually, one of the things is receiving a lot of disappointments. So I walk into CEOs of companies with an idea. Just because he's a CEO, I believe that he must buy this idea. It's a business model. Maybe I share it to him, and you can just feel the negative energy he or she's giving you without even uttering any word. So you walk in, you have positive energy, really dressed well, and then they just pull you down. So you'll be walking into maybe 10 to 15 meetings like that. And then I tried one of the ideas that I was sharing, then I need to work. So I realized, so you don't have to validate it for it to work. Then I'm going to be.
I love that. You don't have to validate it for it to work. Yes. I can make this work anyway.
You can make it work, despite what everyone else will be saying.
I like that. But let's talk about then if my ambition is something where, and many people say that keep talking about your dreams, have it on your mouth constantly, so that when someone, they might be, the right person might hear this thing that you're dreaming up, and they might be able, you may get people in your team, maybe it's a business, you may get investors, you may get that. So that's gap between that I need to constantly speak out my dreams and walk them out, and now that you've just mentioned, where whoever you end up talking to, they're just shooting it down, shooting it down, shooting it down. What do you do so that you don't now end up silent about your dreams, and then you're trying to build in secret? Because I don't know about you, but I don't believe in that, and I'm curious to know your opinion. I think build publicly, like you mentioned, own your mistakes, build publicly, learn, grow. So how do you bridge that gap of, I've been trying to speak about it. I'm getting a lot of discouragement. When do I not speak about my dreams? When do I speak about them? When do I explain myself? When do I not? How do you know, or how did you choose?
Uh, by that, actually, you're asking tough questions.
It's a tough one.
It's a tough
It's
one.
really a tough question, because what you're saying makes sense. But then I'm thinking, wait. But there are some times where I have to pitch my ideas to people, and they keep turning me down. So then here I might have to explain it as well. And also the real question that I'll ask you, that's also a tough one, the gap between money and ambition. So I'm ambitious, I want to start this, I want to do this, but I don't have the money for it. So I probably need to speak to someone about it so that I can ever end up getting an investor, getting people to believe in it so that many people come together and it's easy for us to do it instead of just me. See, that means I need to speak a lot about my dreams, but I will get people shutting me down. How do you kind of understand when, or for you, for us, for example, when you came to our booth at Youth Plus, you started with just like a simple question, and then you went further into the conversation. You kept talking to us now about your dreams and about your goals and about your ambitions. So how did you know that these are the correct people to sit down and talk to, instead of, oh, this is the CEO who shuts me down, I'm out? What's your tell? How do you know?
Number one, I'll say about energy. Energy we talk about once. It's in the emotional intelligence part. You can just feel the room. You walk into rooms, and before you even get to the meeting, you just know that these are a meeting.
That's true.
These are a meeting, because you feel the energy. So let's say an example, you mentioned it on about when we walked on a boat. I could just feel that the way you received it, the greetings they received. I could just, because you can see the genuine. Everyone will see the unity. So if you're giving a positive energy, but it's not genuine, then everyone will feel that it's not genuine.
Yeah.
That is what, actually, that is one of the main problems that people face in the marketing.
Yeah.
What we do. Because people are trying to sell a wrong impression that they do not have. So you sell an ad, you don't have a television ad where you're selling a very good film. But then when people walk to your shop, they find something different. Maybe the customer service is not handled the most. Then that won't last for long, because they're going to leave reviews online about that. Also, another thing, Martin Luther King. Every time Martin Luther King stood to talk, talked about his dream. I have a dream.
Yeah.
Every time he stood to talk, talked about the dream he had to make black people great, to enslave them. So I'm not saying don't talk about your dreams, but talk about the dreams. Now, listening to what you're supposed to listen to, and leaving what you're not supposed to listen to.
So the talking about your dream is constant. That does not stop. But you just know what will impact, what to take home with you. So when someone is trying to bring it down, it doesn't add up. You know that's not advice you're taking in. When someone is building it up, you're able to take it up.
Sure.
Okay.
So
I love that.
You pick what is needed. So sometimes I'm going to walk to conference rooms, and I talk to maybe a board of directors and people, but I'll just know that they're not the right fit.
Yeah.
They're not the right fit.
But you'll talk about your dream.
But I'll talk about my dream, because everything in the world is about revolve around the world when we're supposed to sell ourselves.
Yeah.
Every time you get a girl, you're selling yourself.
Yeah.
Because every time you walk into a meeting, you're just selling yourself. In fact, this might hit me, but every time you're walking towards your family members, you're selling yourself to them.
Really?
A simple illustration. Give yourself an example of this uncle who walks in 8 from town. and the other uncle who lives in the village,
Mm-hmm.
how they're received, and the perception to how parents would receive them.
Yeah.
It's something different from what you would expect because they're both your children. You expect them, I should receive them in the right way, not the one who knows about selling yourself.
Yes.
How have you sold yourself to?
Yeah. Amazing, amazing. I like that conversation. I think it's an important one to have when you're discussing ambitions and how to pursue them. How do you speak highly, especially about your dream? Now, the question, the big question, money versus ambition. You have an ambition, you don't have the money to finance it, you need money for it to even kick up, but you don't have it. How do you not, first of all, end up in a rut where you give up? Or even as you're trying to build your ambition, because sometimes you think, okay, I'm not so passionate about this other thing, but I'm making money here. So let me make money and then finance my ambition after. But then sometimes you get lost in the rut of trying to make that money. Have you experienced anything like this? I'd like to hear your side of the story, your experiences of money versus ambition.
Actually, to answer the question, I'll give a contradiction point.
Mm-hmm.
Money is never needed to start anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's a contradiction point to the audience and to everyone else.
I want to be a photographer. I need to buy a camera. I need to buy, or I want to be a makeup artist, and I need to buy the makeup palette. Talk to me. Uh-huh.
As long as you want to start it, you're going to start it anyway, with or without the money.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you have the what you call being an underdog, it's the fight. Because when I started, I didn't even have my personal laptop or right from. I used to walk to the center because there's internet and there's Wi-Fi there. There's Wi-Fi and there's computers that you're going to use. And I didn't care about that. I didn't just sit down and say that just because I do not have a laptop, I will start anything. I walked there because I wanted it to happen. When I want something, I go get it, no matter how hard it will take. Let me give an example of the foundation that we have at Lucky Goose. We started without even a body. In fact, we started it back then before I even had we started it back then before I even had any that earned any cash. So there was no financial there. A group of young men joined together, interested in football, do not have a ball. We all do not have money actually. I could barely make money for lunch. Barely. So we do not have money. We started by sourcing balls. So we could not mix. We could do a lot of things. We ran a small fundraising where we were selling things to people. Actually, now this is reflecting on what happened. We could even sell handkerchiefs to church people. So we start maybe a PCA church, then PCA church. Then you're selling handkerchiefs, you're telling them you're supporting the team, just because we wanted it to happen. It didn't mean anything because we just somehow said, well, I can not have money, they're not going to it. So it's a notion that has been running through the African countries, which I feel it's you need money to scale, but not even money to start.
To start, okay. That's good to know. You need money to scale, but you probably don't need money to start.
Sure.
All right.
So like,
and I think there's truth there.
So to cut off, an example of what you had said being a photographer. You want to be a photographer, but you do not have the photography equipment. But there are people who have the photography equipment and they don't get a lot. Go prove to them that you have the talent. Do it best. Work overnight there.
Yeah.
Work over hours. Then earn the money, buy the equipment.
I like what you're sharing. It's to open up your minds to that the only resource is the finance or money is not the only resource available. It can be the resource of time that I don't have money, but I probably right now I don't even have a job, so I have the time to be able to learn a skill. It can be the resource of family and friends or community, like you said, you're able to go door to door. Do you have a football you don't use, you can lend to us. So the resource of community worked for you there. I think that's a different way of looking at it because we are so focused on money so that you can get the things on your own without needing anyone's help. But I don't think anything is built alone. I think even if it's a business, you need people. Even if it's a dream, art, I'm taught anything needs a number of people involved so that something could be built. So that's an amazing perspective, and I'll actually take that home with me as well. Because guys, we're recording this podcast on a phone. not a video, not what. And some people are asking me, Unanza, so do you already have like a podcast studio you're going to be going to? Do you already have like the equipment, the mics, the what? I bought these mics in town, guys, and I decided I'm going to start on my phone because, as he said, you probably don't need the finances to start. To scale, yes, later on when I'm scaling, but you're able to start, get the money, and then scale later. Thank you for that. It's an amazing, amazing session with you. Do you have any parting shots that you would like to share? Whether it's your story, whether it's your favorite quote, whatever it is, a parting shot to the guests, and you can let them know how they can find you if they would like to connect with you business wise. So tell them also a little bit about your actual business, what you do, so that if there's someone here who needs those resources, they'll find you as well.
Okay. So thank you very much for the opportunity. And you know, as entrepreneurs, you're very ambitious to selling a lot.
I've seen how you lit up.
Every time you're given an opportunity to sell your business, it feels good because you know your business is your baby.
Yeah.
You've raised the baby, and that is why you find out when now you lose your business. You mentally you're not strong.
Yeah.
And actually, another thing that I need to advise anyone that is doing freelancing or any other type of online work, virtual work, please get a space. That is not a social place to be in. Otherwise, you'll make money, you'll make whatever you're making, but mentally you won't be strong to face anything. So get a space, maybe have a community of other freelancers. Talk. Your social business. Talk with people, learn what they do, engage with them, network, go to networking events. Don't sit on that room locked in for 3 hours, 20 hours. It won't work well for you. Because I had a relapse recently.
Oh, okay.
And that is a story maybe for another day I'll share. But it was tough to transfer through the space. But all in all, if you're starting business, isolation is the price that you must pay. And specifically, I do not mean to offend anyone, men must pay the fee of isolation. Not only in business, but because when you isolate yourself, you get that space where you can feed yourself. Because most people do not even know who they are. And that is the problem we're having with everything that is involved. You do not know who you are. So you're distracted by everyone. You're distracted on social media. Anything that is said, Instagram, you just run into it because you do not know who you are. And I believe now the problem is because I might raise a controversial point here. You know, there are parents who are 60s and they do not yet know who they are.
Yeah.
And it's sad because when you get a spouse or you get a partner, when you do not yet know who you are, everything else and that life, I mean, you just exist.
Yeah.
Kazi, you never even have tough conversations together.
Yeah.
So know who you are. So now on the part where I'm supposed to send business.
Go ahead.
Yeah, AdClicks, located at Westlands, Westland Towers. That is where we have our offices. We do marketing. Let me give a little example of how we're going to do it for you. You're going to come into your business. You're going to learn more about your business, how you sell. You're going to look at the weak points and the strength points of how you sell. And then you're going to develop strategies. You're also going to do an audience research of who you're trying to target, why you're targeting them, and you're also going to recommend other audiences that you might target. Then after that, now we can run the campaign for you, create a strategic marketing plan, run the campaigns, measure the results. Let us grow your business. Thank you.
All right. So you've had that from Kelvin from AdClicks. He is you should be calling yourself CEO. I mean, you're not big on titles, but
I'm not big on titles.
The drum of the titles.
Yeah.
All right. I really think you are a very humble person. From even our discussion the day when you were passing by and you're coming by our booth, there was a lot of, when you start speaking, I'm like, you've done all these things, but you've just walked here like another, just another person. You've just walked in and you've been able to share your thoughts. So thank you so much for giving us your time. Thank you so much for teaching us lessons here on humility, lessons on financial management for freelancers as well, and everything else that you've shared. We've had an amazing time having you here. Thank you again. All right, guys, that has been an episode of Inspiring Revolution. Stay tuned. If you have learned something, please share with someone you think needs to learn these tips and follow us for more. Bye.